Hello and welcome to another tier list video. Today we are taking a look at Applebee's Appetizers. Now Applebee's is a place that kind of has a special place in my heart because just the amount of sheer times that I went there back in high school. I mean, I can't even count how many times I went there for half price apps. I'd never really go there for a regular dinner or regular meal. I pretty much only ever go there for the half price apps because honestly, the food is pretty decent and at half price, it was pretty cheap and it's a good place to, go and hang out with your friends. And so I've had all the appetizers on this list at least a couple times. These are all the ones offered by the Applebees by me. You might have different options, but these are the ones that I've had available to me. So starting us off, we have the white queso dip and chips. Now, this is actually one that I think they've added to the menu in the last couple of years, and I'm not really quite sure why. It's probably the most plain, bland thing on here. Now, don't get me wrong, I love chips and queso, but it's just so basic. Like, chips and queso, I think it's, there's only two elements. There's the chips and there's the queso, and so in order for it to be good, they both got to be good. And at Applebee's, I feel like they're both kind of lacking. The chips, they're really nothing special. Like, yeah, they're okay, but if I'm at a restaurant and I'm gonna order chips and queso, I want it to be better than something I'm just gonna get at the grocery store, which is kind of what I feel like with these chips. And the queso itself, it's good, but it's really nothing special. You probably get the same quality queso from your grocery store. So white queso dip and chips, it's good, but honestly, it's just too basic. And I wouldn't really order this. I'd just buy it from a grocery store for cheaper. So actually gonna be in the D tier. Up next, we have mozzarella sticks. Now, I absolutely love mozzarella sticks. Dip them in the marinara sauce, absolutely delicious. While I will say that their mozzarella sticks aren't, the best thing in the world, I do think that they're really good. I've been to a lot of places where they have mozzarella sticks on the menu, and sure, Applebee's don't have the best mozzarella sticks I've ever had, but they are better than a lot of other places, which honestly usually have more expensive mozzarella sticks, and these definitely are better than the ones you're gonna get at a grocery store that you throw in the oven. And so while they're not like, to die for, I do think that the mozzarella sticks are pretty good, and at half price, why not? Order some for the table. Mozzarella sticks gonna be in the A tier. Up next, we have the breadsticks with Alfredo sauce. Now these I'm kind of gonna do alongside the pub pretzels because I think they're both in a fairly similar niche. You got your bread and then you got your dipping sauce. For the breadsticks with Alfredo sauce, I think these are pretty good. I was actually surprised how good the breadsticks were. I'm really a big breadsticks guy myself, whether I go to Olive Garden or any other Italian place. The first thing I'm always looking for is the breadsticks. And honestly, I was pleasantly surprised with their breadsticks. They have pretty good flavor. They're cooked well. One thing that really ruins breadsticks for me is if they're too tough or like too stale or too overdone. That just completely ruins it for me. They got to be nice and soft, have some give to them, not too crunchy. And I do think that their breadsticks are pretty good. That being said, I think the Alfredo sauce isn't the best. Dipping breadsticks in Alfredo sauce is certainly something that has been done before, and I just think it's been done better. So while the breadsticks are really good, actually, especially at half price, I don't think that their Alfredo sauce is the best. I wish they would, maybe change that up for some other dipping sauce. Honestly, there's a lot of good things you can dip breadsticks in, and I just like to see them switch that up. So while the breadsticks I think are really good, the Alfredo sauce just kind of lacking, so only going to be in the C tier for me. Up next, we have the brew pub pretzels with beer cheese dip. This is another one where I think the pretzels are pretty good. I have had the occasional bad experience where the pretzel itself is a little bit too hard and it's a little bit too crunchy when I'm biting into it. That being said, I think the beer cheese dip is really good. I'm normally not a fan of cheese dips that have a beer as a base flavor, but I do think that this is actually really good, and just overall, I think at half price, this is really good. If you like pretzels and cheese, I think you'll probably like this. It's not my favorite, but definitely a solid choice without really too many complaints, so gonna find itself in the B tier. Up next, we have the two nachos varieties. There's the neighborhood beef nachos and neighborhood chipotle lime chicken nachos. Now, typically, I will prefer beef nachos over chicken nachos, just in general. However, at Applebee's, I'm pretty disappointed by their quality of beef. Usually, it's just a little bit dry or it doesn't have a whole lot of flavor. And it's just a little bit too sparse. I've ordered both of these, and I find that when I order the beef, there's just not quite enough there. The chicken, I feel, usually just has better flavor, and there's usually a little more chicken on there. That being said, the rest of the nachos, I actually think are also usually pretty lackluster. They have some jalapenos on there, but they're like the most mild things in the world, and I like my nachos to have at least a little bit of kick. And with the jalapenos they put on there, there's almost no kick. And once again, they're still using the same chips that they have for the white queso dip and chips. And I just don't think those chips are the best. Well, sure, the nachos are pretty good, and if you're gonna order one thing for, a table where everybody can just, grab a couple bites, I think nachos is a good choice. But that being said, I really don't think that their nachos are the best. They're okay, but pretty subpar compared to nachos offered at some other places. But if you're at Applebee's and you're getting appetizers, you're probably paying half price, so can't complain too much. But the beef nachos gonna be in the C tier, and the chipotle lime chicken nachos gonna be in the B tier, just because I think the chicken here is better than their beef. Up next, we have the chicken quesadillas. Now, this is probably my favorite menu item on the list. It's a good price, and honestly, you get a pretty good amount. Like, they're pretty small, but like you can see in the picture there, you get a good amount of chicken quesadillas. And I will say the sour cream and salsa that they have to dip in, I can take it or leave it. But the chicken quesadilla on its own, I think is actually really good. I think the tortilla is pretty good. I think the chicken, probably the same chicken they use in their nachos, I think that's pretty good. The cheese is there, it's good. I'm a big quesadilla guy, and really I don't have any complaints about this one. If I'm gonna order an appetizer, this is probably gonna be my go-to. Chicken quesadilla, definitely gonna be an S tier for me. Up next, we have the spinach and artichoke dip. I will say I'm not a huge fan of spinach and artichoke dips. I like it, but it's not my favorite thing to dip chips in. But once again, with these chips, we run into the same headache that we had with the other menu items, where the chips, they're just not the best. The spinach and artichoke dip itself is pretty good, but it's pretty standard. Similar to the queso dip and chips, this is probably kind of the same spinach and artichoke dip you're gonna get from the grocery store. So quality-wise, it's just not really hitting the mark. It's just not really worth ordering, paying extra at a restaurant for me. So spinach and artichoke dip also going to find itself in the D tier. Up next, we have the boneless wings. Now, some people really dump on Applebee's boneless wings. Personally, well, yes, they're not the best. They're not on par with B-dubs. I don't think you should ever compare this place to B-dubs, because B-dubs specifically does wings. So, of course, their wings are going to be good. That being said, Applebee's, their main thing is not wings, but honestly, I think their boneless wings are pretty good. Whether you're getting honey barbecue, sweet barbecue, buffalo style, I actually think they're all pretty good. They're not the best, but at half price, I think they're actually a pretty good deal. And I've really never had a bad experience. These are probably my second favorite behind chicken quesadilla. And honestly, even though they don't specialize in wings, I think they do a decent job, and I would say they do a better job than even some pizza places that do pizza and wings. I often find that their wings are really bad, whereas Applebee's, they're pretty consistent. You know what you're gonna get with their boneless wings, and I'm rarely disappointed with them. So their boneless wings could find themselves solidly in the A tier. Last but not least, we have the crunchy onion rings. Now, these onion rings, they're about as straightforward as it gets. I mean, just deep fried onion rings. There's not a whole lot of creativity you can do with onion rings, so it's kind of hard to do something wrong, but it's also kind of hard to do something right. I think, most of the time, anywhere I go, if I get crunchy onion rings, they usually taste the same regardless of where I'm at, because it's, such a simple process. That being said, I think you get what you get what you expect here at Applebee's. They're crunchy onion rings. If you like crunchy onion rings at other places, you'll probably like them here. They don't do anything special, but I get that it's kind of hard to do something special with crunchy onion rings, and they definitely don't do anything wrong here. So, I like a crunchy onion ring or two. It'll find itself in the B tier. Well, that's my list. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.